Zombies have become an overplayed trope in games where they've become filler enemies that don't have the fear they once instilled in players. But why is it that zombies are generic when things like demons, aliens, and humans are just as everyday across video games? It's because zombies are all the same and have no goal. With all the other examples, they have free will and an ambition beyond mindless slaughter, as well as the fact that there are so many designs aliens and demons can have that it's almost impossible for two games to have the same interpretations of them. But that same philosophy wasn't shared with zombies, and the tired old tale of bioweapons and mutated viruses began to rot AAA games as much as the caggy infected they depicted. But there's one game that did something radically different with its zombies, a game that changed nearly every aspect of what we know zombies in video games to be, thanks in large part to its predecessors. That game was Resident Evil 4. RE4 has the most creative and subversive zombies ever put to screen, subverting nearly every trope while still retaining the cold, uncaring terror that George Romero initially struck deep into the heart of pop culture all those years ago. See, where video games like Resident Evils 1 through 3 codified the bioweapon loud explosions and apocalyptic panic that zombies have become known for, when the franchise began to oversaturate, Mikami rethought the entire formula from the ground up and created, in my opinion, the most excellent video game that's not exclusive to a Nintendo console, though for a time it was. RE4 is a much more inhuman take on zombies. They're no longer dripping with gore or the insatiable desire to feed. They're far more sinister, not clambering fervently towards you, but calmly strolling. They're entirely confident in their ability to overwhelm you, and it's that belief in themselves that intimidates the player. This isn't a mindless husk, it's a sharply focused one. It's almost strange to call them zombies, as on the surface they're more like cultists, with an unwavering belief in their faith and master. It's that initial illusion of some kind of humanity remaining within them that makes the opening chapters of Resident Evil 4 some of the best levels in video game history. Sadly, as this is a horror story, there must always be an explanation of why this is happening, because creators refuse to understand that the audience isn't scared of the monsters, they're afraid of the unknown, which is why we still talk about things like the Blair Witch. It turns out that it's a parasite that controls the mind, but they find a way to salvage it by introducing a new mystery about where that parasite originated. See, unlike the T-virus, which comes from a lab and as such isn't all that scary because we know where it came from, Las Plagas is just described as being discovered by a cult and then weaponized. This mystery of not knowing where it came from makes Las Plagas more freaky. We can draw parallels to COVID here, as we're still not 100% sure where it came from, and that mystery led to quite a bit of panic in the early stages of the pandemic. But while COVID most likely came from a food market, Las Plagas is a total mystery. The only information we get on its origin is that it was discovered in a valley, but we have yet to find out where it came from. Could it be an ancient evil sealed away in olden times? A parasite that hitched a ride on an asteroid and landed on Earth? We have no idea what it is or why it does what it does, and it's that mystery that separates Las Plagas from every other zombie virus in history. But some of you may be thinking, well, why are you just talking about Las Plagas? The mold from Resident Evil 7 and 8 was also discovered in a remote location in Europe, so what is it that separates the two viruses? It's simple. Resident Evil 4 is so bonkers, I wouldn't be shocked to learn that the game was written as a parody of American action films, but it still keeps its enemies grounded, and Las Plagas has rules that it has to follow. It removes the subject's free will and gives them an unnatural tolerance for pain. Other than that, the Ganados are still human, which makes them incredibly uncomfortable to confront, as there's some kind of human in there. The mold is just magic, with no rules whatsoever, and does whatever the plot requires of it. Need a wasp vagina? Want to be a vampire that's also a dragon? Want to control dolls? Do you want to be Magneto? The mold has you covered. I swear to God, that thing has to be the base ingredient for Compound V or something. Las Plagas is scary because its effects are clear and universal. There's no escaping what you become once you're infected by it. It's also a much more subtle transformation, making sure to leave you with just enough of your humanity to still be trapped in there with an inability to resist. While I could theoretically be infected with the mold and have no other effects other than just becoming immortal like Ethan was, it's just not scary when it's this stupid. And don't get me wrong, Resident Evil 4 is ridiculous too, but there's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stupid, and then there's Sharknado stupid. Resident Evil 4 is one of gaming's masterpieces, and the enemies are a large part of why it remains unique above even its later installments. The vaguely human infected combined with the virus's unexplained origin is what makes Resident Evil 4's Gyarados the best zombies in fiction. I'll be back in 2 days, but in the meantime, here's a video about how you don't need to be worried about Resident Evil 9 being open world.